Today we're going to talk about fat loss progress made easy, and in this video I'm going to show you how to track progress for the best results possible. There's this saying that fat loss is simple, but it's not easy, and I'm guilty of this because I've said it plenty of times. I just said it, but one thing that really gets me about this is it makes the process seem like it should be an easy task. It should be something that any smart person can figure out and just do on their own. And the problem with that is while that is partly true, this isn't rocket science. This isn't astrophysics, but it is difficult psychologically because we want to reach this goal. We want to look better. We want to feel better about ourselves. We put in all this time and effort, and we don't get the results we want. And a lot of that comes down to not knowing what to do or not knowing how to implement what we know. And oftentimes I see that this really comes down to not tracking progress as accurately as we can. Hi, my name is JC Dean. You're watching an OBS approach to looking great naked, where I give you the truth about what it takes to get into shape, and I give you the exact steps to reach your fitness goals. One of the best ways to track fat loss is by using the scale. Now, you might be thinking, duh, of course, I stepped on the scale a bunch, and that's how I know if I'm losing weight. I get it if you feel like it's an elementary thing to do. But scale weight is really important because most of the time, people that are trying to lose body fat are going to have to lose body weight. It's very rare that you see someone over an entire fat loss transformation, say 12 to 16 weeks, who maintained the same weight but gained muscle and lost fat. It's very rare. It's happened to me a couple times after working with hundreds of clients over the last few years. It's just not very common. So one thing I want you to think about is the scale can tell you a lot about what's going on. If you have fears or phobias about getting on the scale, I just want to remind you that the scale means absolutely nothing about you, your personality, your value, or your worth. It's just how much you weigh. That's all it means. And one of the best ways to make sure that you're keeping good records with scale weight is to get on the scale on a daily basis. I prefer my clients to weigh themselves once every day in the morning, after they've gone to the bathroom, before they've eaten or drank anything. And the reason for that is because those conditions are really great for getting an accurate scale weight. And when they weigh themselves on a daily basis, it creates an average. So when I can look at their progress over a few weeks, I can average out the number on a week-to-week basis and see if they're actually losing weight or if they're not. And if they're not losing weight based on the average, I know something's up with their tracking. Another method that is really great in addition to the scale weight is taking tape measurements around your waist. And I personally have my clients do it a few areas around their waist, so I have them do it around the belly button and then a few inches above the belly button and a few inches below. And what this does is when you track your measurements over time, just like you track your scale weight, you're going to see trends. And what you want for fat loss is you want those trends to go downward. So if you're tracking scale weight and you're tracking waist measurements, I say 2 to 3 times a week for waist measurements. If you're tracking both of those things and those measurements are consistently going down, you're headed in the right direction. The next thing I want to mention is you want to be accurate with your macronutrient and nutritional tracking. I have an entire guide on how to count macros, and I'll leave that link below this video. But what you need to know is tracking your food is incredibly important, and it can seem tedious at first. It can seem kind of cumbersome and annoying, but once you get used to doing it and it becomes second nature, you'll find that it actually is a very helpful tool in understanding if you need to change something in the future if your fat loss ends up stalling over time. Now, why is tracking your scale weight, tracking your waist, and tracking your nutrition accurately, why does any of that matter? The reason it matters is because all of these things are related. So if your scale weight and your measurements are not going down, it means one of two things. It means you are tracking incorrectly in terms of your food. You're not tracking your nutrition as closely as you could, so you're actually eating more than you think you are, or you are actually tracking accurately. You're eating the amount of food that you're tracking, and it just means that you need to lower the amount of food that you're eating or exercise more. You're going to have to create a little more of an energy deficit one way or the other. So tracking all of these things together is really, really important because when you track accurately, it gives you a good record to make adjustments from. So it's easy to think that you're eating really well and you're eating healthier, but if you do that for a month and you're not tracking anything, but you've changed your eating habits, then you might end up being really frustrated because you've made these sacrifices, you've stopped eating out, now you're eating all these healthy foods, but you're not losing weight. And the same goes for not getting on the scale or not tracking your waist measurements. If you're not tracking those things very often, let's say you just step on the scale once every couple weeks. If you step on the scale on a day that you're holding more water or you ate some pizza the night before, so you're extra heavy the next day, you may think that you're not making any progress. So as a result, you slash your calories by 1,000 the next day, and then you end up starving for the next week and end up binging that weekend and feeling bad for yourself, and then repeating a process that is probably not too healthy. So let's recap really quickly. First things first is you need to make sure that you're getting on the scale and you're taking waist measurements frequently and getting a good average. Then you want to make sure that you're tracking your macros and your nutrition on a consistent basis and you're accurate with your tracking. And then once you know that your records are good and you've been accurate with your tracking for long enough, you're going to be able to make decisions based on your progress. Are you not losing weight? Well, you probably need to drop your calories or you need to add exercise. When you keep good records, it's going to be way easier to make sure that you continue progressing instead of trying to figure it out as you go or wondering why you're doing all this hard work and you're expending all this effort and nothing's working for you. If you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel stuck and you're trying to make a change and you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to make progress, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll be glad to answer them. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.